Hey, y'all, welcome to Challenge Accept, the podcast where we challenge each other to a new movie or TV show every week. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Thomas.
Aloha, everybody, and we are back with Daredevil Born Again. We are talking about episode 7, Art for Art's Sake. And what were your general thoughts on this one? Because it's mixed online, I'll say.
Yeah, I will say it is very good, but it's hard because it's being, held up to even better. So I would say it's first off, far too short. I think it was like 36 minutes, something like that, way too short. I want
Yeah.
another 20 on top of that. Um, And I feel like we're really wasting the potential of Muse, who they have been building up this entire season. Then to just drop
Mhm.
them off, I'm like, I mean, I wanted Muse to be hunting down Kingpin or something like that, like make it even more complex. I felt like it was a waste. What did you think?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's go there. Spoiler alert, everybody, but now you
Well, too late.
know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I was like, what? That's it?
Yeah.
Muse is such a cool villain. They didn't even explore if there were other powers, which we were kind of talking about his
Hmm.
comic origin before he hit record. And it was like, okay, they didn't really dive into that. He had more of a personality than the comics in some ways. Like you don't really see him outside the suit in the comics. So it was interesting how they tied it in there. And then yeah, Heather just kind of pops off on him at the end. And then that's it. It's
Yeah.
like, what?
Very. I mean, I do want there to be a resolution to this, but
Right.
for him to be fascinated with this therapist who seems to have like all it's like this center the watch the anchor being be this therapist, everything's around her. um
Right.
it should, like I was saying, it should have been Kingpin, or it should have been somebody a little more important to the story, to where like Kingpin has to get involved as well. I don't know, to me it was just felt like such a wasted thing. I know that now we're shifting to the vigilante cops and also Kingpin as the big bad for the next what 2 episodes, but I just felt like what a waste for a character that in the comic books is a lot more important. And like we were going over this beforehand, but as an inhuman, right? And then has the ability to negate his senses.
Yeah, I mean his powers are so cool. Yeah, I think it's called imperceptibility. So basically, he
Great
can
name.
take away. Yeah, I know, right? Like, dude, power names are just the best.
Yeah, they
Like
are.
Sentry, I forgot it's like molecular something something he can control. Doesn't even is that a real word? I have no idea, but it
Yeah.
sounds so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, so which is perfect for Daredevil because he obviously doesn't have one sense, but all the rest of his senses are maxed out to a million, right?
Hmm.
And the fact that he can take away sound, the way he can take away I mean, I guess he doesn't have light, but like sense of smell and all that stuff. It was like a really cool aspect to Daredevil fighting him because he couldn't rely on his senses to beat him. But in this one, they're like, you do Taekwondo. And your
That was
parents
it.
were mean
Yeah.
about it. And he was like, okay, I guess that's why he fights so hard. I don't know, but sure. Yeah, and it has that problem that I think maybe Star Wars Disney has, where it's so obvious that he's the villain. When we see him at the book signing,
Well said.
whatever, 3, 4 episodes ago, you're like, it's
Hmm.
obviously this creepy dude that's like lurking over Heather,
Right, right.
and then you see him, he comes into therapy, you're like, okay, but I will say when they get to the interview part where they're doing the therapy session and his nose starts to bleed, man, does that guy really turn it on. So shout out to that actor. He was really creepy in that moment.
I was wondering what his motivations are for her because, I mean, other victims have just been people on the street. When he gets bumped into, it's them. So why does he go to her book signing first and then pursues her at her office? Is there something special? But we didn't have time enough to let that breathe to see that there's
Right.
this obsession for this particular doctor, that he wanted her blood for this particular a mural or something like that. Like, make it make sense to me. And instead, it's just like, well, it could be anybody, but specifically, I want her just because for no reason.
Dude, oh man, that's such a good call out. I really wish they did. Yeah, he's like, I have this very important piece I'm creating, and I need you to be a part of it, or
Right.
something like. Even that line would have been like, oh,
Yeah.
that's why he's after her, because that is the thing. Like, what makes him so sadistic is he doesn't really have any motivation other than I make art, and the way I make art is using these people, and like
Right.
I'm doing them a favor by making them a part of my art. I'm making them more beautiful.
Right.
And it would have been cool to be like, this piece wouldn't make sense without Heather a part of it. That would
Yeah.
be cool. But you're right. Like it does just feel shortchanged here. It felt like they could have extended one more sighting with him for another episode. Like it's annoying when they do that where there's kind of a cliffhanger where he captures her and then Daredevil has to like track him down. And then maybe
Mhm.
the next episode, there's a confrontation. But I actually feel like in this situation, it would have actually benefited from having another episode with him in it.
Yes, and I think it would have been better if we saw. I mean, I don't want to do this, but what I am doing in my mind is thinking of all these alternative endings to this thing. Where what if the vigilante cops came in and captured him and whooped his ass, but then all of a sudden Daredevil's like, "Hey, you shouldn't be whooping his ass. That's not your job. You're cops." And so then suddenly Matt Murdock has to defend Muse. Better story than what we got already.
Ooh,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Damn,
eh,
nicely done on these rewrites, man. But
but
these are better for
just what I'm
me.
saying, just like let him breathe. But I do also want to see the conclusion of everything else. So I get that we can't do
Right.
everything within 9 episodes. It's just, it's a shame. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, it's because we're also intercutting to Fisk's motivation now, right? Like he
right.
knows, wait, he's like, wait, what? Daredevil's back? And you can see him all of a sudden his gears start turning like,
Yes.
wait, if he's back, then what am I gonna do? And then how
Yeah.
am I gonna go about this? And we see that larger push for the vigilante task force, which is cool. We're getting Cole North in there and the other
Mhm.
whatever the douchebag cop is that's with him. I don't know what
Yeah.
that guy's name is.
Soon to be dead cop. Yeah.
Dude, the guy he got like a freaking pipe bounced off his head in this one.
We
That
have
shit
to
hurt.
find out that he is freaking invulnerable because he also got his neck broken
Smashed.
by Matt at one point. So I'm just like, are we gonna find out that this is our new Wolverine or something like that? Something's got to be going on.
Right. I mean, yeah, yeah. He's got the height and he's got the anger, maybe. Yeah. He went to like the reverse chiropractor the first
Yeah, he got a
episode.
pipe to the head, and then he's on the phone a moment later, and he's like, "Yeah, they were here." Like, mention the fact that you need to go to the hospital, dude.
Yeah. Not only was his family legacy police officers, but they were also like half rock type from Pokemon. They were just like made from Geodudes or whatever.
Made from Geodudes, nice.
Yeah. But but yeah, that's cool. I liked Matt coming in after they had
Yeah,
cleaned up the site, and we get whatever that agent is. Yeah, the lady that was also talking down to the robbers in that one episode.
Kim. Yeah, Agent Kim.
Yeah, Agent Kim. Thank you. Talking to Fisk, like that was cool. I'm glad they just didn't completely forget about her. You
Right.
know,
I'm hoping that they could use her as a liaison, just like they're going to do eventually with North, to the vigilantes. And I do like in this episode too, when Kingpin's giving orders, like, or is implying saying like, "Well, what happened here is you guys saved the day, not her." And North was not 100% on board with that, which I think is starting to show that crack pretty fast. Like, North isn't going to be a bad cop in the end.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I think you're right. I could see it kind of extending into season two, though, where they're still
Yes.
kind of hunting him. But I think to your point, maybe the last episode, Daredevil does something that saves him.
Hmm.
And, it's that one step. It just kind of shows like maybe there's a different side to him. Like we see Mr. Milicic, like,
Yeah.
is he one step away from like turning on, the people in power, basically?
Right, right, right.
But you're right. I think I could see it going that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Vanessa and this move that we had to take care of Luca, um, at first I was like, okay, I actually watched the episode twice because you told me to go back to check something out, and we'll talk about that too. So I ended up just
Yeah.
like, oh, let me just watch it again then. Um,
Mhm.
so with, I wasn't sure if she was actually sending him there in a trap or sending him to actually kill Kingpin. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that is the ongoing mystery for the show. If I had to guess, though, it's so tough. Like, does she still love Kingpin? I think that's the
Yeah,
thing. I think she does. So I'm going to say that she knew she was setting up Luca, but yeah, yeah, could it turn? I don't know. That's a good question. Where are you leaning with it?
so on the second viewing, I caught that Sopranos kid, I don't know his name,
Mhm.
but we know which kid that is,
Yeah.
was telling BB that, oh, he's not here, he's taking care of something. And
Mhm.
so if they knew that he was taking care of something, I think it's because he knew he was setting up a trap to kill Luca. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? So the
yeah.
fact that it was kind of like said that way, and I think also setting that trap is also very much like this isn't Mayor Fisk doing this. This is Kingpin doing this.
Right, right. Yeah, okay. Because it was too smooth too. You
Yeah,
have like the butler guy in the corner and he was just waiting. I was like, how the
yeah,
hell did he know that? It was just too smooth. So I think they were trying to give us the impression that Vanessa's against him, but she's really not. And I think you
right.
never go against the Kingpin, and everybody that does gets offed just like Luca does. I also found the kid Daniel Blake,
There
right,
we go.
played by
Blake.
Michael
Yeah,
Daniel. Yeah, and you're right. And I also like how Fisk is kind of rubbing off on him,
Hmm.
and enough to threaten BB. But I'm going to go with that. Vanessa was also cueing Kingpin into this, and Kingpin was not being Mayor Fisk. He was being the Kingpin and was just like, I'm going to eliminate this guy. He's being too much of a pain in the ass.
Which is what Vanessa wants. Vanessa, I don't think likes Mayor Fisk. She likes Kingpin.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
in doing that, she's getting her husband back. She wants the
Ooh.
the mob back, and um, I think doing this, I think she's gonna be able to get back in power. She talked about how things were better then. Luca talked about how things were better then. It's like, okay, then we'll just make that happen. What else do you think he's going to do next to cement his power? And how do you combine both sides too? Like, how are you also running the vigilante task force and eventually going to be running your own empire again? How does that work?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, Vanessa, man, isn't it crazy to you though that we were not going to get this actress? What's her
Yeah,
name? Ayelet Zurer. She wasn't in the original draft.
she's
Like
so good.
it's crazy that
Yeah,
she's in the rewrites too. Because I was like, there's no way the show works without her. You
and
know,
she's in the comic books too. She's so vital for what we think might be happening in season two. I don't want to give anything away for people who don't know,
totally.
but she's really important for a certain character that we all want to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah. But I think this episode, to your question earlier, is the sign that he is now allowed to be more Kingpin because the
yeah,
fact that Daredevil is back, he's like, wait, if he's letting out his inner demon, I should let out my inner demon.
right.
And the fact that he's giving the police unlimited power beyond the scope of the law. Hey, you guys don't need to have body cams. You have unlimited budget. Hey, why don't you just take credit for this crime? Which is you're not, you're supposed to say who actually solved the case, did the crime, whatever, right?
Hmm.
Like what's next? They're going to cover up evidence. They're going to just, off people. Like again, I think you came up with we think Cole is the one that murdered White Tiger. And I think I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if I'm still on board with that. But either way, they're going beyond the scope of their power
Right.
fully now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, anything could happen.
I wonder why. Okay, so Vanessa's clearly the one pulling Kingpin that way. Do you think Kingpin would have been pulled that way? Fisk would have been pulled towards Kingpin again as easy if it wasn't for Vanessa. And then let's mirror that over to because everything's a mirror in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Let's mirror that over to Matt. Is Matt should Matt have had somebody? Should they put Karen back in this, for example, to like say, hey, you need to be Daredevil. That's the only way we're going to clean these streets up. Like, I feel like Daredevil's missing that Vanessa in his life because the therapist isn't doing that for him. And also, would Kingpin be Kingpin if it wasn't for Vanessa?
Yeah. Does Matt need that person? I think they were trying to show
Right.
us that Matt doesn't. Right. Like I think they were trying to set
Right.
up other characters that were not part of the Netflix story and be like, they're just as important as Foggy and Karen for
Yeah.
whatever reason. But either way,
Yeah.
they had to save whatever the show was. We also know this is not a spoiler alert that Deborah and Wool is coming back for season two.
Hmm.
But I think to your point, if he loses Heather, and I think he basically loses her by the end of this episode, he is going to need someone that's going to pull him back and also the strain between Matt and Heather is the fact that she'll never understand him because he's like, I have to let this out. She's like,
Yeah.
you're pushing away your trauma. But he's saying like, no, there's something I'm doing that I can't tell you. Or
Yeah.
like she's never gonna get it.
Well, there's a thing too where she like I think he said my name, which she did, So I'm like, okay, is Matt gonna tell another person his identity? Because he can't do
Right.
that. Like at a certain point,
Right.
it's the classic Spider-Man problem. I always love that about Spider-Man. Like there's so many reasons to love Spider-Man, but he lets too many people know who he is.
Yeah.
So then you have to
Yeah.
have the one more day storyline to clean
Mhm.
that shit up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because he's
Exactly.
like, you told everybody, don't tell
Yeah, like
anybody anymore.
everybody in your life knows who you are now. There's like no
Yeah.
secret. Yeah, like you might
Which
as well
the
not
MCU
wear a
did the
mask.
same thing. It's classic Spider-Man problem. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. So you're right. I don't think he shares that, but I think that's why it's a perfect segue to get Karen back in season two
Yeah.
because she will understand. It's like Mary Jane at the end of what is it, Spider-Man 2 or 3? She's like, I
Yep.
know you're Spider-Man and I still love you. It doesn't
Right.
matter.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yes, like she still like, understands that he has to do this and blah blah blah. There's just something trusting about it, and it makes it feel like that's the right relationship.
Hmm.
Which again, bring Karen back in season two. She understands. We're back, good to go. Now their relationship
Yeah.
can flourish knowing this secret. And how does the world? How does she then exist in this world knowing this with the hero. So yeah, Vanessa's an interesting one. Well, would Kingpin still be this way? I think he would, but they don't have enough episodes to let that show. And then it's just an easier and tighter way. Like I fell in love
Yeah.
with this person. Are you going to be that person? Are you not? And I don't care if you think you're doing better for the city, if you think this is what you have to do with your life. Like you're not the person I love anymore. And so it's
Mhm.
just a more compelling reason to make Fisk Kingpin again.
Well, and if it wasn't for, I believe his name's Adam, the lover that's in the basement, like he wouldn't have that constant little kingpin on the side. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, well, then it's going to build up, and well, so it's interesting to think of how those two would have been different, the way they would have worked out. I don't know.
T- totally. Like he probably would have erupted at Vanessa if he didn't have Adam.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think so. Or
You
somebody
know.
like like actually talking about Blake. There was that one moment where Blake really messed up and released information to BB, and we
Mm-hmm.
were surprised that he didn't just kill him. Like, you're man, you're lucky you're talking to Fisk, not Kingpin right now. He probably would have killed him if it wasn't for the
Yeah,
fact that like, that's right, I'll punch it out of Adam later on. You know?
yeah, yeah. Literally, like Adam is the human stress ball.
Yeah,
Like if it's
poor
not
son of a
for
bitch.
Adam,
And
like
all he wanted to do was get laid.
yeah. I know, yeah, just the wrong guy's wife, or
Yep.
if he didn't know. I don't know, who knows, but
Who knows?
man, poor Adam. Yeah, he's the true sympathetic person in this whole story. But you're right. And it's just really great. It's really great again how they're mirroring everything. How just these guys who've tried to stuff this demon or this genie in a bottle, and there's no way it's going back in the bottle. Like it's out, and they're always going to be that person. And Fisk at the end too is just doing that through illegal means with this vigilante kind of police task force. It's wild, but it's also what we get in the comics, so it's pretty cool.
And I want to throw this out at you because I think New York, I hate to be so arrogant sounding movie review guy sounding, New York's a character as well. Well, in this case, I'm exactly saying that. I think both of
Mhm.
them put those anger demons in a bottle to try to better New York. One as the prosecutor, one as, as the mayor. And then I think they're
Mhm.
learning that actually, when I let that devil out, I actually do help New York because we're seeing Fisk actually control Red Hook, and we're seeing obviously Daredevil clean up the streets where the cops can't do it. And I think that's a pretty interesting thing too. It's like sometimes you just need the vigilantes, and sometimes you need the mob boss. Penguin, exactly the same thing, right? We saw that in the Penguin series. Like, actually, he controls some of the bad elements that are in that crime family.
Mhm. Yeah, you're so right. I think the conversation in this episode that perfectly highlights what you said is the conversation with Sherry at the
Hmm.
office. You know, when Matt walks in and Sherry's like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't do it. You're gonna ruin your life."
Yeah,
Yada yada. And he's like, "No, I actually helped her. Like, nobody would have been able to save her if
right,
it wasn't this." So you're right. I think Matt does believe this is the best way I'm gonna help the city now. And it's like, yeah, I'll do the lawyering, but I gotta be Daredevil.
right.
And yeah, and then Kingpin, just he's got unlimited power, so to speak.
Hmm.
Well, I think they try to show that he has a little bit of confrontation in the dinner scene or the gala he went to, but man, I mean, he's still the mayor, and what is anybody gonna say?
I rewatched that episode a couple days ago, and because I always like to kind of like digest what we just did. We talk about it immediately. These are reactions. These are immediate reactions, and then I like to
Mm-hmm.
watch them again and like really. And I looked back at that and really seeing how much they disrespected him. Like they were
Right.
really telling him like, we're just gonna wait for you to be gone, and then we'll continue. You don't have the power. We have the power.
Yeah.
And again, I talked about that episode about that, like new money versus old money and stuff like that, and the disrespect he was getting. And I can see how the mob boss guy, the kingpin coming in and like taking out that hierarchy that's there would only benefit New York.
Mm-hmm.
So like you actually want him to reign supreme over all those rich people. And it's
Right.
like you're rooting for Joker, man. You're
Mm-hmm.
rooting for the bad guy. I
Yeah.
always go back to Batman villains. What can I do? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It is interesting because I think they're just doing a really good job of painting. Is Matt, are we rooting for Matt or are we rooting for Kingpin? And there's moments in this season where I've definitely been like, Kingpin's kind of got a point.
Yeah,
You
in
know,
this episode, he keeps talking about how like, well, he's specifically saying how much he hates Daredevil over this, and that's such a fun little thing about him.
right.
Where he was saying like, I was employing all these guys; they were hardworking people, and so like he kept talking about the people that were working for him, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh my god, what a villain to fall in love with in that case, right? Because I mean, like, how many of the rich assholes that he was talking to at that party cared about the people that worked for him?
Yeah, but I think what's interesting about that now is it goes back to that Captain America basically line. Is it the way you do something that makes it right, or is it the results?
Mm,
And that's the thing. In this episode, we see that Kingpin's willing to cross a lot of lines
yeah,
to get results. And like,
true.
so that's for me. And this show is doing a really good job of having these moral conundrums, right? Even with the what do they keep saying? Like the caramel corn. They said caramel corn like 100 times in that one episode.
Yeah,
Like it was a good point. Like
yeah,
he's saying, Matt, you don't understand. Like, yes, you think this is a good deal, but I was kind of forced in this position because I couldn't get food stamps. I couldn't get a job. Like I didn't have a
hmm,
choice but to steal. And like, God forbid, I want to have a little dessert. I go to get a little bit of dessert and then it gets blown up in my face, And it's like, what does he do? Does he handle it as an attorney? He couldn't. So he has to be there, And I think this is another one of those things. Kingpin might be making progress for the city, but is he doing it in such a shady way that people, so many people that we don't even realize are getting hurt and they have no power in this situation? Does it make up for what they're going through?
yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I don't know.
Very well said. Yeah, that duality of which side is right, and we know which side is right, but seeing how it's arguable, it's not as black and white as you might have thought. It's just good
Right.
writing all around and good performances too. Vincent D'Onofrio to me showed a really excellent piece in this one where he's that moment when he's talking about actually the people who worked hard for him. I was watching that and I was thinking like, man, like literally the weakness of Kingpin is Daredevil. Like as soon as he finds out Daredevil's back, he starts to unravel a little bit. His personality
Yeah.
starts to kind of fall apart a little bit. And he starts to kind of spiral. And it takes his little
Yeah.
butler guy to be like, "Hey, you got to do this," or something like that. Like he was starting to kind of just randomly go into a thought craziness.
Yeah, yeah, you can see him start spiraling, which is
Spiraling.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So to use the Batman and Joker analogy, but it's almost like when Joker pops up for Batman, though, because
Hmm.
Batman's like, oh my God, okay, stop everything. I got to take care of Joker.
Right.
Right. He's like, oh, what's he going to do next? It's like all their villains be damned. Like, I
Yeah.
got to make sure I stop. So it's crazy how it's almost flipped in this situation, in this one certain circumstance. Like, Daredevil is Kingpin's Joker, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's just good writing. And yeah, you could just see he gets under his skin and oh man, it's so good.
And
So
he's
good.
handling like Luca with no problem at all. I mean, like I love that moment in the last episode where Luca's in his office talking shit, and he takes off the apple because he has a American flag and he has the big apple. He takes the big apple and he pins it on Luca, and it was almost like a little kind of kiss of death, like I'm gonna get that pin back. And yeah,
Ooh, I like that.
yeah. So I bet he'll have it back.
I thought of
Um,
it like the Snow White with the deadly
oh, the
apple.
poison apple.
Poison
Yes.
apple. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It's like you're eventually gonna that apple's gonna kill you.
Yeah, yeah,
So, man, that's pretty good though.
yeah,
Cool. I like, yeah, good literary connections here tonight,
yeah.
Thomas and Frank. We did a good job.
Well, we want to know what you guys thought about this episode. I think actually we kind of talked ourselves up a little bit on this one because I think going into I thought it was too short,
Ooh,
use
yeah.
wasted. Yes.
No, no. I think we'd be remiss if we don't call this out because I instantly noticed it, and
Oh yeah, sorry.
it did kind of take me out of the episode. I will say because
Hmm.
it is so bad and it's so noticeable. I have not seen a lot of people online, but we'll check that threads after this. But there's a part where Muse, it's not Bastion, it's Muse. He's in the full canvas outfit. He says something to Heather as he's cutting her, and she says yells at him something, and it does not match her mouth at all. Like the
Yeah.
ADR is off, pretty
So
bad.
it is like two lines that she says that does that. Yeah. As I watched the whole conversation, I'm like, I don't see it, I don't see it. And at the end, like of their conversation when he's actually cutting her, you're right. They like just replaced it. So I wonder why they needed to replace it.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it was that the original scenes, whatever she's saying to him in that moment, does not match how this scene is playing out now with the rewrites.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like for some reason they felt like I had to change it. But I was like, God, this have we not learned anything from Madam Web? That was the only part of the episode. It really took me out. But other than that, I liked the episode. But I was like, wow, that's pretty bad.
And shout out to the team, honestly, because I mean, thank God Bob Iger came in. I know that's crazy to say, thank God for a billionaire, but there it is. Um,
Right, right. People are
but
like, what?
yeah,
They'll
I
just
know.
like drop their phone right
Right.
now.
But think about how much him and Kevin Feige coming in, like the rewrites are hard, but if you weren't caring about it as much as we are, like if you're just an observer of this show, like any else other person, you probably won't feel them as hard as we do. And like, frankly, you could tell where they're saving the show with the rewrites.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
shout out to them for going back to this thing and really getting it back on track because we could
I
see where the
agree.
show was kind of supposed to go. It's like definitely going to lean into that lawyer that he's hanging out with and stuff like that instead of
Mhm.
where they're going now. And it's like, okay, well, you could definitely fix that. That's good.
Yeah, which is so funny because I felt like that was a complaint for season one on Netflix. So like, why would you
Yes,
like? Granted, everyone
they're
says
going
it's
to
the
repeat
best
it.
season, but it's like you have to evolve. Like, why would you just straight up copy season one? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that we're getting more action, more fights, but I think we're not losing any of the moral questioning or the great kind of legal ease that goes into this too. So
Yeah.
it's been good.
One of the best changes from the Netflix version is that he has a better stick that can launch that thing, and he puts it through Muse's shoulder, which was
Holy
brutal.
dude, that was wild. Yeah.
I'm a
I was
fan.
yeah, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, they said it was gonna be violent and
Yeah.
they're standing by it, man. That was pretty rough. Great fight though. All the Muse fights have been awesome.
Yeah.
Now
Um,
he's a taekwondo guy instead of a inhuman, but sure.
yeah. I when they said that, I was like, oh, he's probably not gonna last too long. Um, so make sure you guys let us know on threads. We try to kind of put some stuff out while we're watching the show. Um, make sure you guys check that out and make sure you guys let us know what you thought of this. Also, I want to recommend a show I recommended to you. It's called Studio over on Apple, and it's made by and directed by Seth Rogen. And frankly, it's star-studded. There are a lot of people in this thing, and
Mhm,
my favorite part about it is it's the continuous shot. They keep doing those one-shotters or
mhm.
oneers or whatever they call them.
Wonders. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that like creates this tension. You see it a lot in like The Bear whenever they do like a cooking scene. They do a lot of that, and it's yeah,
Thank you for bringing up the bear. I was like, this is anxiety with comedy done right. Like the
yeah.
bear's not a comedy.
It's not a comedy.
This is a comedy.
Yeah, there was something else I was watching where it was like, yeah, it's like The Bear, but it's a comedy. They're joking around about that.
Oh, nice.
But anyways, so I really suggest you guys check that out. It's over on Apple TV, and it's really, really good. And for what I'm hearing from interviews, Seth Rogen like literally used his life talking to studio heads and stuff like that to make this. And he's been getting calls from people saying like, "Hey, I know that was my character. Man, that was exactly right." And he's like, That wasn't your character." And other people are getting hold of him like, "Hey, I know you made that about me, you asshole." So he's like, "Nope,
Yeah,
not about you either." You know,
yeah.
but people
Yeah,
are really
yeah.
finding themselves in the show, so it's really cool to see how they're doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I'll throw out one like there's Catherine O'Hara is in it, and they
Yes.
are comparing her to Amy Pascal, who
Yeah.
basically runs like Sony, right?
Hmm.
Who's like the Kevin Feige to Sony. And I saw like a side by side picture. Looks pretty spot on.
Looks pretty spot on. Yeah.
Looks pretty, yeah,
There's all
dialed.
kinds of things, like the fact that they was like, they remodeled this. I think it was like this Aztec temple looking studio for this, and I thought that's such a good move because then it makes the building unique, like the setting they're in more unique. Like it's just a
Hmm.
throwaway line, but suddenly they're not standing in a normal office building that would like drown out the show. So I was like, that's
Right.
just a good move all around. And then the fact that, especially Seth, but the other characters do it a lot too. They all dress like they're in the '70s or like in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like there's definitely
Yeah.
like this California peak of Hollywood vibe going on.
Totally. Unless you're Catherine Hahn, and she's marrying the most ridiculous shit
Yeah.
all the time.
She
It's
does
just like,
usually is. Yeah. And everything.
yeah, yeah. It's like somebody like a rapper would buy like
Yeah.
Chanel, Fendi, like the most obnoxious logos all over it.
Yeah.
God, Catherine Hahn is killing it. It's such a funny show. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, of
You
course.
are right. It is my kind of comedy for
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll have to review it after it's done or something like that. Maybe we'll throw something up for that, guys. But yeah, check that out. It's a lot of fun.
Great too.
All right,
Yep.
guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Uh,